The Vancouver Canucks are 5-0-0 since cleaning house back on December 5th. We're going to take a look at how much better they've been playing under new coach Bruce Boudreau and talk about if they have a chance to save their season and actually still make the playoffs this year. We'll get right into it. Let's go. Hey everybody, so we need to talk about the Vancouver Canucks because this team, after firing their GM, firing their head coach, making a bunch of changes back in early December after a very disappointing start to the season, is now 5-0-0 in their last 5 games. Bruce Boudreau has done a great job with this team, and they're playing significantly better in every area of the game over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to take a look at Vancouver here and see just what they've been able to do, what they've been able to improve on since the coaching change. So they're 5-0-0 with a 10 out of a possible 10 points since the coaching change. Before, under Travis Green, to start the season, they were 8-15-2 on the year, 18 points. So they've gotten almost as many points in the last 5 games as they did in the entire first couple months of the season before making this change. You look at, they've played 25 games under Travis Green. They only had 18 points. They've played 5 games under Bruce Boudreau, and they have 10 points. Now, obviously, this is a very small sample size. It's only been 5 games with the new coach, and this isn't uncommon for us to see kind of a big boost like this after a mid-season coaching change. The more difficult part is it not just being a little brief boost after a change, but something that they can actually keep up over the course of the rest of the season, and that is going to certainly be the big question with the Canucks is how long does this last? Are they able to keep playing at this level, or do they eventually revert back to what they were before? That's the million-dollar question with this team. But there is no doubt when we look at the statistics of the Vancouver Canucks since the coaching change versus what they were before the coaching change, they have gotten better in every single area of the game. We look at their goals for per game, 2.80 in the last 5 games under Bruce Boudreau. They were at 2.36 in the first 25 games under Travis Green. Goals against, this is where the biggest improvement has been. Goals against per game, 1.60 under Bruce Boudreau. It was at 3.16 under Travis Green for the first 25 games. So massive, massive improvement as far as keeping the puck out of their own net. And that has been one of the biggest things that has allowed the Canucks to begin winning games. Power play has also seen a massive increase under Boudreau. 30.8% in the last 5 games on the man advantage. It was 17.4% before that under Travis Green. And the penalty kill has also vastly improved, up to 81.8% on the PK over the last 5 games. First 25 games under Green, it was at 64.6%, which is absolutely putrid. Significant increase in penalty kill percentage. Overall, special teams in general have just been vastly better under Bruce Boudreau compared to how they were early in the season. And really, every team statistic, every major way that you could look at this team offensively, defensively, special teams-wise, everything has gotten significantly better under Bruce Boudreau. And again, it's a small sample size. It's only been 5 games, and the big question is going to be, can they keep this up? But one thing that you absolutely cannot question is that, they've gotten better in every facet of the game since the coaching change. And Bruce Boudreau has done a great job with this team. He's got them scoring more. He's got their special teams improved tenfold in both directions, power play and penalty kill. Defensively, this team is playing so much better under Boudreau. And it's great to see. I mean, this is what the Canucks were supposed to be like. This is what they were supposed to look like. This was a team that has a solid roster, but wasn't playing well and wasn't getting what they should have out of that roster. and really didn't all of last year and hadn't at any point this season either until this coaching change was made. And now things are certainly headed in the right direction for Vancouver. The other aspect of this is, is it too late for the Vancouver Canucks? Obviously, they've won 5 in a row now. They're starting to get some points. They're starting to climb a little bit. But is it too little too late for a Vancouver team that is still very low in the standings and below 500? So through 30 games right now, even with this 5-game winning streak, Vancouver is still 13, 15, and 2 on the season, 28 points through 30 games, and 7th place in the Pacific Division. So, obviously that is not the position that you want to be in, but they have certainly been playing a lot better lately, and they do have a chance to climb in the standings. They're only 4 points back of Edmonton, who is currently in the 4th spot. However, Edmonton does have 3 games in hand on the Canucks. They're 1 point back of LA for 6th spot, but LA has 3 games in hand, and they are 3 points back of 5th place San Jose, but San Jose also has a game in hand on Vancouver. So the fact that Vancouver's already played 30 games this year does not help them. That means they have 52 remaining. And we're going to have to wait and see, do they have a chance to make the playoffs still? Yes, I don't think it's impossible. However, I do think it's unlikely. Even if they keep up playing the way that they have to win, at least another 30 games this year out of their 52 remaining games. They've got to win somewhere between 30 and 35. Generally, the cutoff for the final wildcard spot is somewhere between 90 and 95 points. And for Vancouver to get there and get over 90 points this season and have a legitimate shot at a wild card spot, got to imagine that they've got to win at least 30 of these remaining games, if not more, probably closer to more like 32 or 33 to actually get into the playoffs. That's about 60-ish% of their remaining games, and that's going to be a hard thing to do. I mean, that's a very high winning percentage for a team that right now is still under 500. However, they've played so well since the coaching change, and maybe they're going to be able to keep this up, and maybe they're going to keep winning at a high percentage under Bruce Boudreau. And if they can do that, then they do have a shot to climb the standings and possibly get into a playoff spot. But the million-dollar question is, can they keep this up for an extended period of time? It's one thing to get the big boost after a mid-season coaching change. We see it a lot in the NHL where, those first few games after a new coach comes in, teams tend to play really well. They have a heightened sense of urgency. They play with a lot of energy, and they're a lot of times able to win those first few games under a new coach. But the big question is it just going to be a little flash in the pan, or is this something that they're going to be able to keep up all season long? That there's no way to answer that until it happens, until they play, until we see what they're able to do over the course of the rest of the season. But if they're able to continue to play the way that they have in these first 5 games under Boudreau, then I do think this is a team that could potentially try and compete for a wild card spot and really climb the standings in the Pacific. If not, they might just kind of revert back to being a 500 team after, this little bit of a boost, and then they're certainly not going to make the playoffs if that happens this year. So it's going to be difficult to do. I don't think it's impossible. However, I don't think it's likely that Vancouver gets in, but there's no doubt they are playing a lot better since the coaching change, and every area of the game has just significantly improved under Bruce Boudreau. And the rest of December is a big, big month for the Canucks. The second half of this month might be a big determining factor as to whether or not this team could potentially sneak into a playoff spot, because they have so many divisional games. Of their games remaining left in the month of December, which they have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 8 games left in December. 6 of those 8 games are in the division, are against Pacific Division rivals. They have 2 games against San Jose. They have 2 games against Anaheim. They have 1 game against Seattle, and they have 1 game against LA. So 6 of the 8 games that they have remaining in the month of December are divisional games for the Vancouver Canucks. And if they can keep playing the way that they have, and win 5 out of those 6 games or something like that, they could make a significant jump in the standings, beating teams like San Jose, potentially beating a team like Anaheim, beating LA, beating Seattle. If they can win those divisional games, they could really jump in the standings very, very quickly over the course of the next couple of weeks. If they don't, though, they're probably going to kind of bury themselves, and if they only go like 3-3 through those games, or even worse than that, maybe, then it's probably going to be too much of a hill to try and climb over the course of, the second half of the year. These divisional games are going to be huge. If they can beat San Jose, that's going to give them a good chance to take that spot in the standings. If they lose to San Jose, however, the Sharks are just widening that gap and extending that lead that they have over them. So, again, these next couple weeks are going to be absolutely huge for Vancouver, especially with the divisional games, and could be the determining factor as to whether they can climb the standings and make a push for a playoff spot or not over the course of the rest of this year. But there is no doubt this Vancouver Canucks team is playing a whole lot better under Bruce Boudreau. We'll see if they can keep it up, but they've gotten better in every aspect of the game since the changes back in early December. And obviously this was kind of the wake-up call that they needed. And, maybe they needed to get Travis Green out of there for this to happen. Maybe it was a situation where Travis Green was not the right coach for this team and not coaching the best out of them. And Bruce Boudreau's been able to do that and find that. We'll see. Again, it's a small sample size. It's a usual quick early boost after a coaching change. The big question is, can they keep it up? And that's what's going to be answered for the Vancouver Canucks over the next few weeks and over the next few months. Can they keep this up? But there's no doubt that they've gotten better in every way since Boudreau has come in, and that is a good sign for Vancouver, who may not quite be completely out of it yet. We're going to have to see what they do the rest of this month and into January and see if they could potentially climb those standings enough to be a wild card team this year. But that's what I've got on the Vancouver Canucks. Very interesting team right now, playing so well since the coaching change and really trying to get their season back on track. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our merchandise store, memberships, and donation links are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.